Hello everyone and welcome to Recap V. Today we'll be talking about a TV show called SAS, Rogue Heroes. SAS, Rogue Heroes is a 2022 historical drama created by Stephen Knight, based on the book of the same name by Ben McIntyre. Watch out for spoilers and let us begin. The movie starts in May 1941 somewhere in the Egyptian desert. There we see a military convoy trekking across the desert. We are introduced to David Stirling stopping the trucks and informing Major Knox that their trucks are out of fuel, and questions if fuel trucks are part of the convoy. Knox says no before telling him that the convoy had enough petrol for a 500-kilometer journey. Stirling says there are 500 miles between Cairo and Tobruk, not kilometers. Knox says there are Frenchmen in the State Department. Stirling warns him that more men will die because their convoy won't reach Tobruk. Knox says he's supposed to address him as Sir. But Stirling walks away while mumbling "piss off" and starts screaming right before the scene cuts. We then see him at night cutting off a car and entering a bar where he orders some whiskey, and starts telling a joke about why the chicken didn't cross the road. Meaning a joke on how they mistook miles with kilometers. As he's rambling when two Australian soldiers enter the bar. One of them spits in his direction, while the other asks if the Brits ever met an Italian. Stirling admits to loving Australia where the wildlife was created by a lunatic. They say their FUs to each other while standing before the scene cuts to Ghazi British military prison Cairo. There we see an Irish man, Paddy Mayne, and three other soldiers come in and they seem to want to hang him. But the scene then cuts to a battlefield on the siege line of Tobruk, where we see Lieutenant Jock Lewis, preparing his soldiers out of the trench to attack the Italians. We then go back to Stirling and the two angry Australians. One of them swipes his money and splits it with his buddy. Stirling stands while removing his jacket and warning them that he won't tolerate theft before also telling them of his being a commando. As he explains to them how he trained with his men on the ways they can kill their enemies. The scene cuts between Mayne and Lewis, as they are killing the way he is describing. After this, the soldiers are creeped out and scared, so they leave. The next morning we see him vomiting off the balcony, before heading to the B Battalion HQ Layforce 4th District Middle East Command. He goes to Knox's office where he informs him that a farewell event will be held at the embassy tonight. Stirling asks if it's an opportunity to plan another attack in Tobruk. After saying it's an opportunity to say goodbye to whoever, Knox demands he be there. Stirling reminds him of Tobruk being under 24-hour bombardment. Knox assures him that the second attempt is under discussion. Stirling says it's the third attempt. Knox asks what will it take to get him to address him as Sir. Stirling says respect. Knox refers to him as an insubordinate malcontent that his father would despise. As Stirling makes his exit, Knox warns him that he'll be charged if he doesn't show up. We go to Paddy on Tobruk with his man. He tells them that the convoy dispatched to replace them should have enough fuel to make the journey. After saying an urgent flight to Cairo is planned for him tonight, he admits to working on a strategy that may get them out of there if HCQ fails them. After approving the request, Paddy says he bribed a dock worker to be on the lookout for parachutes. Staring at a crate of parachutes, Jim Ammons asks what is his plan for the parachutes. Paddy tells him that he's going to use them to jump out of an airplane while popping a parachute open. He orders Ammons to send the crate of parachutes to the airstrip before tonight's flight. He informs Riley and Ammons that they'll be part of his parachute regiment. Once the crates are loaded onto a truck, Paddy says, "Let's go and win the fudging war." We then go to Stirling and Dr. Gamal, who informs him of an officer having a message from Lieutenant Jock Lewis. After checking his blood pressure, Stirling asks what the message said. Gamal says Paddy's to be taken to the Tipperary Club for the Three Musketeers reunion. Pointing at the note, Stirling asks what it says. Gamal says parachutes. We then go to 11, Commando Camp Heliopolis, Cairo, where we see Paddy and Owen McGonigal. They make some jokes and Owen then informs him about the same thing Stirling was informed. We then go to the place they're supposed to meet, Empire Club Cairo. We see Patty sitting at the table and then a woman called Eve Mansour approaches and leaves a red flower. Patty tosses it away. He tells her that he isn't interested in brief accord. She says she's a journalist, but he then calls her a spy. She says that she is an intelligent officer who reports to General de Gaulle. She then addresses him by his first name. He asks how she knows it. And then she reminds him of his victory over the Vichy French at the Litani River. She asks for an assessment on the French soldiers that supported the Nazis, to which he replies by saying that they're all dead. Before leaving he gives her a message to give to a tall and probably drunk man, that Patty says no, and that he is going to the Far East to fight the Japanese. The tall and thankfully not drunk man, Stirling, arrives. He tells Eve that the table is booked and that she should leave, but she tells him the message Patty gave her. He then asks who she is, and she says the head of the French military intelligence in Cairo. After this, they have a small talk, until she makes fun of his unit for mistaking miles with kilometers. She then tells him that they are on the same page, and that they both want to change the failures in this war. After this, Stirling meets with Lewis, and informs him about Patty. Lewis takes a map and they go to a pool table where they ask some men to let them have it for the map. The men don't agree, so Stirling takes a grenade and throws it at them. After they run away, it turns out that it was a toy. They open the map and Lewis says the German soldiers advanced too quickly at 800 miles in 6 weeks. Pointing at the supply line, he tells him that it's 300 miles too long. He suggests attacking from the sand instead of the sea. He says they utilize parachutes to get men into the interior so they can attack Rommel's supply line from the desert. Stirling says someone would need to try the parachutes. Lewis admits to hoping Patty would join them, but now they'll need to do it without him. Stirling promises to steal an airplane since he stole the parachutes. We go on Katara airstrip 50 miles west of Cairo. There we meet de Havilland, a pilot who demands to know what is going on. Stirling and Lewis make some jokes. Havilland tells them that no one parachutes on the desert, and that their parachutes have static lines. Stirling suggests utilizing the seats. Lewis agrees and says the parachute cables can be attached to the passenger seat. Havilland calls them mad, and then after the storm ends they start the flying. Lewis and Stirling tie the parachute cables to the legs of the seat. Lewis jumps clean. But Stirling's parachute is damaged during the jump. He's knocked out cold when he lands in the sand. He imagines speaking to his father. Stirling's father reminds him of how he climbed an oak tree with one arm behind his back. Stirling tells him that he can't move his legs while trying to get up. His father quotes a verse from his favorite poem. Stirling assures his father, and God, that he'll not be stood down, as the episode comes to an end. Hope you all enjoyed this recap. Make sure to leave a like, comment on what you think about it, and don't forget to subscribe so I can make more recaps of movies, TV shows, animes, etc. See you all on the next video.